A distaff is a device to hold fibre to facilitate drafting and spinning. Distaves, the plural of distaff, can be of various constructions, but it is the purpose that counts. It could be a nail or a hook on the wall, a broom, a stick, or a rake. Often, the distaff is purpose-built and highly decorative. Paraphrased from the Big Book of Handspinning by Alden, Amos. To dress a distaff, one needs a distaff, a length of ribbon, and some fibre. Today, I am using various preparations of wool, carded with a drum carder into a bat, wool rolags carded by hand, and commercially prepared roving. I am using stick distaves because it is easy to improvise something like this using sticks from the yard or even a broom handle. This is the distaff Ashford used to make. I use this most often for production spinning as it attaches directly to the wheel. I simply unroll the wool bat, then roll it up again, snug but not tight, around the distaff. The goal is to secure the fibre snugly but not tight. The distaff replaces our fibre hand, which, you remember from learning to spin, doesn't work with a death grip. A slip knot secures one end of the ribbon to the top of the distaff. Spiral the ribbon down the fibre and back up again to create a crisscross pattern. I used to do this differently so that the ribbon made a bow near the bottom of the fibre, but I found the ribbon too eager to become part of the yarn. So now I try to make sure that any ends of the ribbon are further up from where I'm drafting. Here is a vintage distaff from Romania. I bought it on Etsy, and you see a lot of this style out of Eastern Europe these days. I can see why. It is extremely versatile and is fastly becoming my favorite distaff. The two parts join together thus. The longer, smooth end tucks under the arm or into the belt. The shorter, more textured half holds the fibre. It was probably brightly decorated when new, but it has aged beautifully. These rolags are hand-carded Cotswold wool with a staple length of between 8 and 10 inches. By the way, all of the fibre used in this video are available at my Etsy store. See the description for a link. This particular wool is from a mischievous sheep named Not a Goat, in hopes that she might take the hint. The quick way to dress this distaff is to take a handful of rolags, squish them around the distaff, and hold them in place with a length of ribbon. Or better still, a longer ribbon. I don't really like this method as the ribbon needs frequent adjustments in order to hold the fibre secure enough to keep the drafting even. For this technique, I am using a rectangle of stiff paper cut from a grocery bag. At one end of the paper, place the fibre and the distaff. Start rolling. You can tie the ribbon to the distaff or simply around the paper. It depends on what works with the length of ribbon you have and what you feel looks best. You can also dress a distaff with commercial roving. There are many ways to do this. Here is one that I like. Divide the roving into lengths about as long as the fibre portion of your distaff. If it is too long, don't worry. You can break them shorter, or there's a trick I'll show you in a moment. There, that's about 2 socks worth of yarn. Next, I slightly fluff up the fibres by lightly pulling on the roving sideways. I find this extra step makes drafting easier. I overlap each section and roll it around the distaff. Only oops, I made it a bit too long. Oh well, just fold that down for now. All better. I secure one end of the ribbon to the top of the distaff with a slip knot. Spiral down the fibre and back up again. And oh noses! The ribbon isn't long enough to return to the top. No worries, I'll just tuck it in here for now. As the fibre becomes yarn, the amount left on the distaff will decrease, and the ribbon will need adjusting several times. This is normal. Learning to use a distaff can be a challenge, but I believe my ancestors would have discarded this technology if it didn't provide an advantage to yarn production. Using a distaff has improved my spinning, in that I am more mindful of how my hands interact with the fibre. I wish I had this skill years ago when I caught my arm in the car door and couldn't spin for over half a year. It was terrible. There are many different ways of dressing distaves. These are just some that I use in my daily spinning. What is your favorite method? Let me know in the comments. And happy spinning, everyone!